The SCCA Women on Track. Our guests today on Inside the SCCA are Velma Boreen and Linda Duncan, two of SCCA's torchbearers, longtime members who have made names for themselves both on the track and off in the local and national solo scene. They're also part of a great initiative, SCCA Women on Track. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
To be here.
So I asked you to be on today for a couple of reasons. You guys have got this great initiative, Women on Track, and we're going to get to that. But you're also just really long-time successful members of the club, and that's what we love to talk about. So whether it be solo or racing or rally or flagging and communications, whatever the case may be, I get to sit down and talk with people who have done it for a long time or maybe brand new, have had some sort of success or an interesting story. You're kind of all of that, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And I also, over the last, I guess we're on episode 36 now, because I've been a member for a long time and all over the country, a lot of the people I have had a chance to talk with are people who I've known for many, many years. And while I know the name Linda Duncan and Velma Boreen, the three of us don't have any real connection. And I love that because I'm going to get a chance to learn more about you folks and everything that you've done. And I'm excited about it. Up next on Inside the SCCA Women on Track. Our guests today on Inside the SCCA are Velma Boreen and Linda Duncan, two of SCCA's torchbearers, longtime members who have made names for themselves both on the track and off in the local and national solo scene. They're also part of a great initiative, SCCA Women on Track. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
To be here.
So I asked you to be on today for a couple of reasons. You guys have got this great initiative, Women on Track, and we're going to get to that. But you're also just really long-time successful members of the club, and that's what we love to talk about. So whether it be solo or racing or rally or flagging and communications, whatever the case may be, I get to sit down and talk with people who have done it for a long time or maybe brand new, have had some sort of success or an interesting story. You're kind of all of that, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And I also, over the last, I guess we're on episode 36 now, because I've been a member for a long time and all over the country, a lot of the people I have had a chance to talk with are people who I've known for many, many years. And while I know the name Linda Duncan and Velma Boreen, the three of us don't have any real connection. And I love that because I'm going to get a chance to learn more about you folks and everything that you've done. And I'm excited about that. So let's get started. First of all, thank you for being here. So I don't know who to start with, so I'm going to just kind of throw this out to the both of you. Let's start with, how did you both get started in the SCCA?
Go, Velma.
That's always
I'll
the
go
case.
first because we've probably been involved just about as long. But my first involvement with SCCA was in 1970. My then fiance and I, we were at his dentist's office, and his dentist used to race showroom stock and Formula V up at Brainerd International, or Donnybrook it was called at that time. And he said, how would you kill
Up next on Inside the SCCA, SCCA Women on Track. Our guests today on Inside the SCCA are Velma Boreen and Linda Duncan, two of SCCA's torchbearers, longtime members who have made names for themselves both on the track and off in the local and national solo scene. They're also part of a great initiative, SCCA Women on Track. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank
Nice
you.
to be here.
So I asked you to be on today for a couple of reasons. You guys have got this great initiative, Women on Track, and we're going to get to that. But you're also just really long-time successful members of the club, and that's what we love to talk about. So whether it be solo or racing or rally or flagging and communications, whatever the case may be, I get to sit down and talk with people who have done it for a long time or maybe brand new, have had some sort of success or an interesting story. You're kind of all of that, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And I also, over the last, I guess we're on episode 36 now, because I've been a member for a long time and all over the country, a lot of the people I have had a chance to talk with are people who I've known for many, many years. And while I know the name Linda Duncan and Velma Boreen, the three of us don't have any real connection. And I love that because I'm going to get a chance to learn more about you folks and everything that you've done. And I'm excited about that. So let's get started. First of all, thank you for being here. So I don't know who to start with, so I'm going to just kind of throw this out to the both of you. Let's start with, how did you both get started in the SCCA?
Go, Velma.
That's always
I'll
the
go
case.
first because we've probably been involved just about as long. But my first involvement with SCCA was in 1970. My then fiance and I, we were at his dentist's office, and his dentist used to race showroom stock and Formula V up at Brainerd International, or Donnybrook it was called at that time. And he said, how would you kids like to go to a race for free? We said, how do you do that? And he said, well, we have a driver's school coming up, and we need to train people. It's flagging and communications and timing and scoring. We were too old, or we were too young for F&C. So he said, timing and scoring is really where we need you. So we did that, and I think we did a driver's school and a regional event the next day. Our next event was a Trans Am race. So we kind of did that we did it a lot for 13 years. Moved to Northwestern Ohio, got involved with the group there, started autocrossing, and the rest is history. That's what we've been doing since. Occasionally we work the runoffs. We do some rallying. We're not very good, but that's okay. But we just, autocross is our main interest right now. So
you mentioned Brainerd. That's one of my favorite tracks in the world. And that Trans Am weekend at Brainerd's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, that's when you used to have, I remember seeing, they used to do worker parties on Saturday night. We'd be sitting there eating dinner with Paul Newman and
Jerry Titus and Jerry Hansen. Up next on Inside the SCCA, SCCA Women on Track. Our guests today on Inside the SCCA are Velma Boreen and Linda Duncan, two of SCCA's torchbearers, longtime members who have made names for themselves both on the track and off in the local and national solo scene. They're also part of a great initiative, SCCA Women on Track. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
To be here.
So I asked you to be on today for a couple of reasons. You guys have got this great initiative, Women on Track, and we're going to get to that. But you're also just really long-time successful members of the club. And that's what we love to talk about. So whether it be solo or racing or rally or flagging and communications, whatever the case may be, I get to sit down and talk with people who have done it for a long time or maybe brand new, have had some sort of success or had an interesting story. You're kind of all of that, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And I also, over the last, I guess we're on episode 36 now, because I've been a member for a long time and all over the country, a lot of the people I have had a chance to talk with are people who I've known for many, many years. And while I know the name Linda Duncan and Velma Boreen, the three of us don't have any real connection. And I love that because I'm going to get a chance to learn more about you folks and everything that you've done. And I'm excited about that. So let's get started. First of all, thank you for being here. So I don't know who to start with, so I'm going to just kind of throw this out to the both of you. Let's start with, how did you both get started in the SCCA?
Go Velma.
That's always the
I'll
case.
go first because we've probably been involved just about as long. But my first involvement with SCCA was in 1970. My then fiance and I, we were at his dentist's office, and his dentist used to race showroom stock and Formula V up at Brainerd International, or Donnybrook it was called at that time. And he said, how would you kids like to go to a race for free? We said, how do you do that? And he said, well, we have a driver's school coming up, and we need to train people. It's flagging and communications and timing and scoring. We were too old, or we were too young for F&C. So he said, timing and scoring is really where we need you. So we did that, and I think we did a driver's school and a regional event the next day. Our next event was a Trans Am race. So we kind of did that we did it a lot for 13 years. Moved to Northwestern Ohio, got involved with the group there, started autocrossing, and the rest is history. That's what we've been doing since. Occasionally we work the runoffs. We do some rallying. We're not very good, but that's okay. But we just, autocross is our main interest right now.
So you mentioned Brainerd. That's one of my favorite tracks in the world. And that Trans Am weekend at Brainerd's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, that's when you used to have, I remember seeing, probably they used to do worker parties on Saturday night. We'd be sitting there eating dinner with Paul Newman and
Jerry Titus and Jerry Hansen,
Mark Donahue, and Drapinsky, and they don't do worker parties like that anymore.
4 laps left.
They probably can't.
We don't go on to after they can do the broadcast. So,
Linda, how did you get involved with this crazy thing we do?
Well, it was the same thing. In 1970, Howard and I were still in college at the University of South Florida, and they had a sports car club.
Okay.
So
we were invited to join that club, and it ended up that evidently Howard can't sit still long enough. He's got to start asking questions.
You'll be able to start
we found out
seeing
in
the show when we go
SCCA,
live.
if you
I
ask
think you see our
questions,
full
you
screen
become
right now.
part of the leadership.
Right.
Done deal.
Okay, cool. And I hope you'll be able to hear it too when we turn it up.
To get
back
back on track,
so you'll be able
we
to
went
follow
to a
along, 'cause
race.
you're going to be
We were
the
corner
segment after the
workers.
first commercial break.
We were told we could go to the free race, just like Velma and Raleigh.
Right.
And we went, and you had to come in white clothes. We couldn't figure that one out, but we did it. And we ended up working a corner, and we were corners for quite a while until I had to climb a fence a couple of times to be missed by a car. I said that was enough for me, so I went to timing and scoring. It was a much safer place to be.
Yeah.
But that's how we got started, and then of course we were always solo. But to be close to the cars is just so much fun.
Yeah, definitely.
It's an experience you can't get any other way.
It's so true. It's so true. And that's kind of like, I call it hook 'em and reel 'em. We hook them in by getting them close to the cars, and then we reel them in with the people who are here and make it all fun. So, and I also call that self-volunteering, when you ask a lot of questions and then get railroaded in, as you like to say, into actually making it happen. So, the club is famous for that.
Yes, it is.
So you both have had a lot of success in solo. Let's talk about that. Linda, you've got a bunch of trips to the solo nationals, a couple national championships. How did you all get involved with solo?
Well, I'm married to the program.
Yes, literally.
Yes, I call myself the SCCA widow because I don't see them too much. But maybe I will now that he's slightly retiring.
Right.
But yeah, I just have been lucky enough that Howard's been seriously involved, and because he is, I get to play real hard. And because I am Howard's wife, I tended to get some really great rides. I've driven a Bob Tennell car, which is an experience by itself. Randy Post, I drove with his wife one year. I've been second place to Lynn Rothney Kozlak. I've been second place to Ann Hollis. I mean, I can go down the list of people who have outdriven me, but I'm right there with them and just having a blast. And there's such great people to be around. And I just love the cars. I love the drive. I like the way the program is set up. It's just a great experience and a great weekend.
So we should, before we go further, we keep mentioning Howard. Tell us just real briefly, I've known Howard for a long time. Tell us a little bit who Howard is.
Howard Duncan has been the rally solo manager for 32 years, which is totally unheard of. But he just had a passion for the sport, still does. I'm a little worried about Central Florida, which is where we've come back to, that he'll get involved again and he just won't be able to let it go. But at least we'll be closer to home while he's doing it. But great. He has truly enjoyed every minute of putting on these events for people to enjoy. And that gives him great pleasure to make sure that people are having a good time.
I say this about a lot of people, but I don't know that I would mean it more about anyone than Howard. One of the nicest human beings who's involved in our sport. Forget about the talent and all of that. Just a truly nice person, and I've had nothing but wonderful interactions with him over the years. So, and I think, was he just named an SCCA Hall of Famer?
He was. But I have to tell you, what a lot of people don't know is Howard is quite a driver as well. He just left that alone so he could manage the events well.
Velma, what's your competitive connection? I know you've done some stuff over the years. What have you done as far as competing here with the club?
Well, it's the autocrossing. And the reason, Raleigh and I talked, Raleigh is my husband. We talked about, should we think about road racing? And he said, well, then we'd either have to have two cars so that I could also do it, or he'd have to play Roger Penske half the time. And when we moved to Northwestern Ohio, they were so heavily into solo. That's where Roger Ohio Johnson lived. Right. It was his gang of people that really got us involved. And it was just, it was something that we could do on a weekend because he was working full time. And he said, I can, spend a couple of hours on the car if anything needs to be done, and we can be out running on Sunday. Right. So it just, from a time standpoint at that time in our life, it was like, this is the best way or the easiest way for us to compete. We've been to nationals, I don't know, over 25 times. That's all I know. And we've, one year we were the chair people for nationals back in 2014. We've had a variety of cars. We are currently running a 2002 Camaro in the Classic American Muscle traditional class. So, and having a great time with it. So cool. Solo and rally tend to have a lot of husband and wife teams out there. Is that how has that dynamic worked for both of you?
Well, it's for me, it's basically what got Howard and I started playing with cars. When we were college students, we couldn't afford each of us having a car. That would be impossible. So basically, SCCA.
Up next on Inside the SCCA, SCCA Women on Track. Our guests today on Inside the SCCA are Velma Boreen and Linda Duncan, two of SCCA's torchbearers, longtime members who have made names for themselves both on the track and off in the local and national solo scene. They're also part of a great initiative, SCCA Women on Track. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
So I asked you to be on today for a couple of reasons. You guys have got this great initiative, Women on Track, and we're going to get to that. Up next on Inside the SCCA, SCCA Women on Track. Our guests today on Inside the SCCA are Velma Boreen and Linda Duncan.
Not if you can still hear me? Okay, good.
Up next on Inside the SCCA, SCCA Women on Track. Our guests today on Inside the SCCA are Velma Boreen and Linda Duncan, two of SCCA's torchbearers, longtime members who have made names for themselves both on the track and off in the local and national solo scene. They're also part of a great initiative, SCCA Women on Track. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
So I asked you to be on today for a couple of reasons. You guys have got this great initiative, Women on Track, and we're going to get to that. But you're also just really long-time successful members of the club, and that's what we love to talk about. So whether it be solo or racing or rally or flagging and communications, whatever the case may be, I get to get to sit down and talk with people who have done it for a long time, or maybe brand new, have had some sort of success or had an interesting story. You're kind of all of that, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And I also, over the last, I guess we're on episode 36 now, because I've been a member for a long time and all over the country, a lot of the people I have had a chance to talk with are people who I've known for many, many years. And while I know the name Linda Duncan and Velma Boreen, the three of us don't have any real connection. And I love that, because I'm going to get a chance to learn more about you folks and everything that you've done. And I'm excited about that. So let's get started. First of all, thank you for being here. So I don't know who to start with, so I'm going to just kind of throw this out to the both of you. Let's start with, how did you both get started in the SCCA?
Go, Velma.
That's always the case.
I'll go first, because we've probably been involved just about as long. But my first involvement with SCCA was in 1970. My then fiance and I, we were at his dentist's office, and his dentist used to race showroom stock and Formula V up at Brainerd International, or Donnybrook it was called at that time. And he said, how would you kids like to go to a race for free? We said, how do you do that? And he said, well, we have a driver's school coming up, and we need to train people. It's flagging and communications and timing and scoring. We were too old, or we were too young for F&C. So he said, timing and scoring is really where we need you. So we did that, and I think we did a driver's school and a regional event the next day. Our next event was a Trans Am race. So we kind of did that we did it a lot for 13 years. Moved to Northwestern Ohio, got involved with the group there, started autocrossing, and the rest is history. That's what we've been doing since. Occasionally we work the runoffs. We do some rallying. We're not very good, but that's okay. But we just, autocross is our main interest right now.
So you mentioned Brainerd. That's one of my favorite tracks in the world. And that Trans Am weekend at Brainerd's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, that's when you used to have, I remember seeing, probably they used to do worker parties on Saturday night. We'd be sitting there eating dinner with Paul Newman and
Jerry Titus and Jerry Hansen.
Mark Donahue and Drapinsky. And, they don't do worker parties like that anymore.
They probably can't.
Probably not.
Linda, how did you get involved with this crazy thing we do?
Well, it was the same thing. In 1970, Howard and I were still in college at the University of South Florida, and they had a sports car club.
Okay.
And we were invited to join that club, and it ended up that evidently Howard can't sit still long enough. He's got to start asking questions.
And we are live from Virginia International Raceway. Brian Polanski here with Greg Ginsburg doing Runoffs coverage. You know, folks, I just got to start this off. If you don't think this stuff matters to us, I got my co-host here. He is in tears. One of his buddies just won a national championship. So if y'all don't think this stuff means something, we hang out with these drivers for 30 years, some of us. We're with them every weekend. We're neighbors with some of them. We sleep next to them in our trailers at the racetrack. We're not next to them in a literal sense.
Yes.
We put our motorhomes next to each other. And when you see someone who works so hard and spends their hard-earned money to go over and over and come and do this and come to runoffs after runoffs after runoffs and maybe not have a great finish here and not have a great finish there, and a good friend gets a national championship. This guy here has been a puddle of a mess for the last 10 minutes because we just finished up Spec Miata, and what a great race with some rain involved and all of that kind of stuff. And we're going to go backwards because this is what we're talking about here. Nick Bruni, you've known him for a long time.
I have.
Can you talk without blubbering?
Yeah, I think I can. And by the way, Mike Collins, your future ex-son-in-law, national champ. But
your future ex-son?
Yeah.
Is that a joke? I don't know about.
It's a joke.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah, a Labor Day joke. But
Absolutely.
yeah, the wildest race I think we've seen. You might need to talk.
So, Spec Miata, we've been dry all morning. The story of the runoffs last year yesterday was rain
Right.
everywhere.
Exactly.
Here is what we've had today. It's been relatively dry. There's a little bit here, a little bit there,
and a little bit at turn 1, and a little bit at
Right.
17, and a little bit at Oak Tree
Right.
at different periods of time. And I kept going, trying to get everything together for, putting down a finishing order to help you out with this. And every time we turned around, it was different. Going into a full course caution with, and a green-white checker to end this race, it looked like Connor Zilich's race. And we had Todd Burris, who had worked his way back up to the front of the field, the 2019 national champion, and it was not to be for either one of them. Nick Bruni, who had contact early on in the race with our pole sitter, Danny Stain. Stain had to retire the car early, and Bruni found himself at the front, and you heard it there as Hayward Wagner talked to him on the pit lane. He didn't know that he was your leader until he essentially came out of Oak Tree for the very last time and didn't see anybody in front of him. And from there, it was it was a stroke of luck, because Charles McTudis, who had led a good portion of this race, just probably got the worst run out of Oak Tree that he had all race long, and just couldn't make up the distance on that last lap.
And what's the amazing part of the story is we've been pretty much dry all morning. The track's been drier and drier and drier. And just before this last race, I heard the announcer say there's only one choice: to be on dry tires.
Dry tires.
And of course, 3-4 laps into the race, it starts raining on the backside. It starts raining a little bit here. It starts raining a little bit here. And all of a sudden, dry tires, they're still the right decision, but it's a whole different deal. And then we've got our friends in Spec Miata who put on this fantastic race here. We have a very compressed show because we're short on time, so we're going to move right along.
Yeah, and I got word that our B-Spec race, next race up, they're going to be on track green flag 1:10
That's
p.m.
right, 1:10. So we're going to get right to that as quickly as we possibly can. Let's move right on. FX. This was our short class, small car field.
Yeah, small field, and Trevor Russell, our pole sitter, I think he might have tried his best to not come home with his first national championship. He put the car off on the 9th lap, so about halfway through the race over at turn 1, but he had enough of a margin over the rest of the field, won by 36 seconds over Austin Hill, who finished in second, had a 12-second gap to our third-place finisher, Kevin Fandozzi.
All right, moving on. T4, Marshall Mast, your new national champion in T4. John Heinrichsey. When you beat John Heinrichsey for a national championship, that's something that you put on the bulletin board. You make big billboards. You put it all over Facebook, because John Heinrichsey's got like 10, 11, 12 national championships.
Exactly. And so whereas the FX race was very wet, they were the first race out after our morning show, the track started to dry out for the T4 race. And I think the commentating team mentioned this. It looked as though Marshall Mast was attacking the track. He was not only looking for dry spots, he was forcing his way into dry spots, and these were choices that John Heinrichsey chose not to make. And so Marshall Mast, he picks up his 4th national championship after having started 3rd in today's field. Heinrichsey finishing 2nd. Devin Anderson, who started on the outside of the front row, comes home in 3rd. Nick Leveroni, who was our 2019 national champion here, after John Heinrichsey had some mechanical issues in that race. Leveroni finishes 4th. Mark Cefalo, in a great race for him, started 6th and finishes there in 5th place, picked up 1 position.
All right, GT Light runoffs. Peter Shadowin is our race winner. Brian Lynn from Cal Club, or at least Southern California, or California. We get him at Buttonwillow all the time.
Right.
Great driver. This is an interesting story, because when you see only your region over and over and over again, you see a guy like Brian Lynn, who's fast, really fast, but you wonder, how does he match up against the rest of the country? Well, now I know.
Now you know.
Place
well,
at the
and he has H Production National Championships as well. And I think this was the story. The tires were the story of the race. Right. We still had, we had that drying track coming out after the T4 race, but Peter Shadowin, he went out on intermediates.
Right.
Okay. Everybody else at the front of the field went out on full wets, and they had worn those tires down to basically little nubby blocks by the end of the race.
Is that a technical term?
Yes, nubby blocks.
Okay,
and Brian Lynn, Jonathan Goodale, that was the race. The race for second as Peter Shadowin just checked out in his Honda CRX. And you could see Goodale, who was throwing his Mazda Miata all around after taking last year off. He comes back and had to back out a little bit for a couple of laps to try and get the tires back underneath him. But he and Brian Lynn swapped positions twice in the last 4 laps. Brian Lynn managed to hold on. He basically put Goodale into a very poor position. 1 lap coming out of Oak Tree, was able to drive by him. Goodale then just did not have the tires underneath him any longer. And Lynn coming home second, Goodale finishing third. James Gregorius in his Mazda RX-7, first-gen RX-7, coming home in fourth. Graham Fuller, who I thought was a dark horse to win. He had a great start, worked up from he worked his way up from 7th position up into 4th early on in this race, and ended up finishing in 5th place. But I should say that battle for second between Lynn and Goodale, it was a battle for third until the very last lap. And I think we should mention here that Michael Lewis in his Mazda RX-7, he had a commanding about a half a lap lead in that battle for second over both Lynn and Goodale. We think he ran out of fuel coming through turn 5, going in the Snake on the very last lap, parked the car, and there you go, Brian Lynn picking up second place.
Okay, so now my favorite, or one of my favorite classes, I got tons of favorite classes. Call me old, call me old school, whatever the case may be. We move now to Formula V. Brian Farnham with the national championship here. Zach Witston, his first, right? Zach Witston, who was one of the favorites.
He was actually picked to win by Sports Car Magazine, but I think the big story here was lap number 2 of this race. Very early on, Andrew Witston was leading this race. He goes off, and I believe it was down over at Hog Pen. A number of drivers went off there on lap number 2, and we'll talk about him in just a moment here because we're going to get back to Andrew Witston. But he went off. Steve Witston spun the car around at turn 1, and Lauren Bralier, who started 6th, ended up impacting his car. Steve Witston retired. I think Lauren also ended up retiring her car as well. We had hoped to see a little bit more from her. She started 6th today, but actually, I'm sorry, Steve Witston did manage to continue. He finished 8th in today's race. But Farnham took the win, and this is after he finished second last year at Indianapolis. And here's the story for Brian Farnham. On about halfway through the race, lap 7, lap 8, his right front shock broke.
Right.
He was on with a broken front shock for half the race, just trying to manage things, managed to keep a very good gap back to Zach Witston, and the reason he was able to keep that gap is because he and Andrew Abbott were going at it for the last half of the race. Andrew Abbott, he started 5th, he finished in 3rd today. Mitchell Ferguson came home in 4th, and here's the story: is Andrew Witston. He finished in 5th position. He fell all the way back after that off at Hog Pen. Fell all the way back to 25th position. Made up 20 positions in the intervening 13 laps. A great run, also, by the way. I wanted to mention Trevor Carmody, whose father Ray was inducted into the Formula V Hall of Fame this weekend, along with Stephen Davis, who was in the field, as well as Lisa Noble. He had a great race as well.
All right. So real quick, before we get out of here, you finish on 3 shocks. That tells me one of 2 things. Either shocks aren't that important on a Formula V.
Well, he did want to take the victory lap on the 3 shocks.
3 fantastic shocks that helped him get through the race. So
that's right.
Play that however you want to, but that's my takeaway from that. All right. We got to get to break because we're going to have a short show. When we come back, we've got James Candelaria. If you've been watching the race broadcast, you'll know that some of his cameras are what you're seeing on this race broadcast, and we're going to catch up with him, find out about that, and talk with him some more. So we'll do that right when we come back. What are we? Inside the SCCA. Brought to you by Goodyear Racing Tires and Vintage Racers for Rescues. Stay with us. Decades of sports car racing success comes from Goodyear Racing Tires' dedication to grassroots motorsports.
Too many trophies and championships to count, and a commitment to continuing that tradition fuels continued tire development. From the professional levels of motorsports to the pinnacle of amateur racing in the SCCA, Goodyear Racing tires are made for winning trophies. Follow @Race Goodyear on Facebook or scan the QR code. Goodyear Racing is more driven.
Sentinel by Candelaria Racing Products is a comprehensive motorsports video system, incorporating live streaming, local recording, picture-in-picture, flag status, leaderboards, data overlays, and more. Perfect for endurance racing, sprint racing, and HPDE, Sentinel includes everything you need to get started. With the ability to control the live feed from the cloud, and GPS Auto Start will never miss an on-track moment. What are you waiting for? Get your Sentinel today.
We are back inside the SCCA.
We both have to get ourselves composed, I see.
Yep. We are live here from Virginia International Raceway and catching our breath.
Yeah.
Some great morning races.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's
I'm
good.
fine.
Joining us right now, all the way from Boca Raton, Florida, is James Candelaria. James, I hope you can hear us.
I can. Thank you.
All right, it's working.
It's working.
We weren't planning on doing any virtual for these shows because we're live and we've got people here to talk to. But James decided that taking care of his home and his family in Florida during a hurricane was more important than coming to us. We completely understand, James. And also we want to send our best wishes to all the folks in Florida who are dealing with some pretty nasty stuff right now. Our thoughts and prayers are with everybody there. So, James, welcome. Thank you for being here. You are, let's start with the system because you're donating a system to give to one of our awards. But more importantly, talk to us about Sentinel Systems and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So thank you guys so much for having me here. Sentinel was a product that was born out of my own racing. I had spent years and years at racetracks, messing around with GoPros, trying to get stuff up to the cloud, editing video when I got back home. And the frustration built. My background is in systems engineering. I did a tech startup a few years back, sold it to Cisco Systems. And so I took that experience and kind of rolled it into what Sentinel has become today, which is really a dedicated motorsports solution for live streaming. So the system itself is really designed around being very easy to use, very simple for the club racer, all the way up to the professional competitor. Plug it in, turn it on, forget about it. If you power off the car, turn it on again, and it starts broadcasting again, allowing you to focus on what's important, winning races.
And we've seen some of your stuff on the TV this week. It's a nice, compact, simple solution, right? It's not hard to do because getting the video to the cloud or to YouTube or wherever you're going to stream, it can take some doing if you don't know what you're doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it can be very complicated. So we've developed a simple web-based portal. It's a cloud-based system. You can do it from your phone. You literally pull up the configuration page. You hit create new YouTube stream. We have a back-end API integration with YouTube, which took over 3 months for them to actually approve, but they approved it. And so we're the only system on the market that literally is a one-button press to create a new YouTube event, and then you just power the system on and go.
So what you're saying is even a guy like me can figure out how to use it.
Yeah. One of the other great things we have is...
He didn't seem very confident by that. He didn't seem so confident there, by the way.
No, it's really super simple. And that's really one of our overlying goals. And beyond being simple, being able to provide you with all kinds of integrations, right? So when you're watching a race, you want to know where the cars are on track, who you're competing with. We have integrations with Race Hero, so we bring in the Race Hero data directly onto the screen. So we tell you your lap statistics, your best lap, your last lap, and if you're doing endurance racing, when the last time you pitted was, who's in front of you, who's behind you, all that good stuff.
So what does one of these systems cost if I want to put it in my race car?
So retail is $2,500, and that gets you everything you need, the exception of camera mounts. You also just need to purchase a data plan with one of the major providers, Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile.
And is there a SIM card that goes into it? Is that how you do it?
Yeah, 100%. You just throw a SIM in the unit, and it will automatically detect the carrier, and you should be good to go.
So if you have, if you know you go to different racetracks that have different cell service, you get different SIM cards for each racetrack, right?
100%. So, for example, over at Sebring, AT&T is not great, but Verizon's fantastic. So if you had a Verizon SIM, plug it in at Sebring. Actually, T-Mobile's pretty good there too. AT&T's kind of just falling behind. But if you go to New Jersey Motorsports Park, Verizon's unusable, so you got to bring an AT&T SIM card.
So I'm really excited because you have been good enough to be the sponsor for one of our awards, the 2022 G-Dub Henderson Award of Excellence. And this is our end of the race weekend award that we're giving to everybody, to one of our 12 daily award recipients. And besides getting this cool, fancy trophy that we put together here, that we're going to show you right here for a second. Greg's going to hold it up here. Besides getting the trophy, which has got G-Dub's name on it and everything, you have been wonderful enough to come on board and offer one of your systems to the winner of that award. And that is a huge thing for us and for whoever's going to win this. And we can't thank you enough for doing that.
Thank you.
Of course. Let me show you the system right now that we'll be sending out to the winner. Here's one right here.
All right. And that's everything you need is the cameras in that box and everything, right?
Oh, no, we attach the cameras to the system, but this is the brain.
Okay. Got it. Cool. So, James, thank you so much. How do people find you if they want to buy a system?
www.sentinelvideo.net. We'll get you right to our web store and give you everything you need to know, and have my contact information available for anybody who's got further questions.
All right. We're going to head to break here. And James, thanks so much. We really appreciate your time and making the effort to get with us during the storm. And we appreciate everything. We miss you here, and hopefully we'll catch up with you in person next year.
Next year I'll be racing, so hopefully I'll come by.
Even better.
All right. That's going to do it for this segment. We're going to come back after this break, and we're going to talk with another one of our fine partners here, but not until after we introduce everybody once again to the Twig. That's after this. Stay with us. Vintage Racers for Rescues. Racers rescuing dogs and cats from high-kill rural shelters and high-risk situations. Virginia and North Carolina have the third highest euthanasia rate in the U.S., and Vintage Racers for Rescues founders Robin and Dave Handy decided to do something about it. Vintage Racers for Rescues is a 501c3 charity that saves between 300 and 400 animals every year, nursing them back to health, finding foster homes, and eventually forever homes. VintageRacersForRescues.com. Use the QR code to find them on the web or to make a donation.
Grass Paddock Motorsport provides Mini Cooper race car rentals, trackside support, and coaching at tracks all over the eastern half of the country. GPM provides podium-capable rentals for B-Spec, the fastest-growing class of racing in the SCCA, for 3 years running, and now the fourth largest class overall. We have a unique approach where our cars are located near the track you want to race instead of being in a central location with large towing fees. Come join us at Grass Paddock Motorsports, where Grass Paddock is an attitude and not a location. Mention this ad for a 10% discount and find us at www.grasspaddock.com.
Racing for Heroes is proud to be a partner of Inside the SCCA. RFH is a nonprofit devoted to helping veterans suffering from the seen and unseen wounds of war through racing and our range of programs. RFH's programs include health and wellness, motorsports therapy, community outreach, education, and employment. Visit racingforheroes.org to learn more and find out how you can help. Cruise Associates is honored to have sponsored this message.
And we are back inside the SCCA, presented by Goodyear Racing Tires and Vintage Racers for Rescues. Brian Belansky here, Greg Ginsburg, and this guy, Matt McGivern. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Let's try that one more time. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Now that we can hear him, he's doing much better.
I don't know how I can never seem to remember to turn up the guest mic. Got a lot of buttons to press here, folks. Doing the best I can here. You're here because you're with Spark Virtual Racing.
That's right.
We're going to talk all about your stuff, but I think first we got to show this video.
Let's do it.
Let's show the video, and it's all about why we're here, why we are here.
a Rolex 24 at Daytona winner, a 2-time champion of the 12 Hours of Sebring, a member of the prestigious Road Racing Drivers Club, and the Twig. Today we find the Twig at Virginia International Raceway, driving an MX-5 Cup car. The Twig is driving Spark Virtual Racing's S600. The S600 is a full-on driver training simulator. Unlike entry-level sim systems, this rig moves across all 6 degrees of freedom, making it a truly full-motion system that provides maximum feedback from the car. At $80,000, it's the ultimate training tool, providing a seat-of-the-pants feel that's remarkably close to what you feel when you are at the track. Let's find out what kind of lap time the Twig can lay down at VIR.
So we are out here at Virginia International Raceway in a Global MX-5 car here on the Spark Virtual Racing Halo Motion Simulator here. Trying to go for a fast lap. And man, it's different, right? Driving this Spec Miata car, I can feel it really starting to understeer, move around a little bit more. You can feel the softness of this car, which is so much different than a lot of the cars that I'm used to driving, the stiffer aero platforms of modern GT3 cars. They don't slide around as much. They don't have the pendulum effect of a soft MX-5 car here. Alrighty, think about hog pen. Let's get that good run out of here. All that curve. Rolling down, flat, right at the compression. There we go. Car sliding. Woo, every inch of the road there. That was a pretty decent exit. Get ready for a fast lap here. So I need that late, aggressive brake into turn 1, looking for that 3 board. The 5th gear. Take a breath. Getting ready. Eyes are in. Boom, 3 board. There we go. Down to the apex point, back to full throttle, let the car be free out of here, go, 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 don't scrub speed. Thinking about turn 3, I want to be nice and light on the brakes to roll in speed. Nice and light, there we go, get down to that apex point, hey, what do you know, there we go, use all the road, that was okay, not great, into turn 4. Ooh, a little late on that turn-in point, not great, that's going to cost me some lap time. Alright, I need to be flat from here on out, all the way to turn 10. Let's use this curve here to do a little release, a little early on the turn-in point, get it together, hands straight, and we're good. Whew! Take a breath into the S's here. You need to be inch perfect, the first S, so that everything else is just working out for me. There we go, that was a good one. Jump this curve. Keep that right foot on the floor, Come on. Alrighty, nice and light on the brakes, roll speed into turn 10, there it goes, float, 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 use every inch of the road, nice. Braking just past the 2 board, boom, hard on the initial brake. There we go, release enough, roll speed, there we go. Back to flat the apex point, get the run out of here onto the back straightaway. Could have used a little bit more speed through Oak Tree, but my exit was good, and that's my main priority here. Take a nice breath, down the back straightaway. Big brake zone coming up. I need to make sure I hit that apex point in turn 14, but I need to make sure I'm maximizing my brake pressure too. Nice and late on the brakes. Looking for that aero board. Let's go. Wham! Hard on the brakes. Get the car slowed down. Can I hit it? No, too much speed, but I need to go, 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 go. Don't let it cost you. There we go. Alrighty, attack it through hog pen. Turn it in flat. Use this curve, light on the brakes again, car rotates, boom, back to full throttle, come on car, tell me I don't suck today with my lap time, please. And it's still not gonna be very fast. Come on, let's go, come on. Well, that's a little bit better.
All right, there we go, the Twig, 2:12.91. That was a heck of a lap, and having a ton of fun. Well, we had a really good time doing that video, didn't we?
That filming day was fantastic.
And we're going to work really hard not to tell you all who the Twig is, because we both know, obviously. Because
but I don't.
That's right. That's right. We had a really good time with that. And there's going to be more videos to come. A lot more detail about the system that we're going to talk about now.
Sure.
But first, let's just get right into it. So you guys are the Spark Virtual guys. Your simulator is pretty rockin'. Tell us about it.
First of all, thank you.
Yeah.
And secondly, we specialize.
This is a partnership, but it is actually pretty rockin'. I'm not just saying that because they're but yeah, it's really cool.
No, that means a lot, and it's always nice when a top driver such as the Twig sits down and
Thought he was going to say a top driver such as Brian. So you were going to say that, right?
Well, the beauty of it was that it was such an interesting filming day because Brian remoted in from across the country, and it was just such a cool show of versatility from you. And for us to be able to showcase what we do, and a quick rundown is that we specialize in completely turnkey racing simulators.
Right.
So our clients get to avoid the headaches of researching, building, waiting for all the parts to show up, all the things that come with building an at-home simulator. And then taking it a step further, my business partner by trade is an aeronautical engineer, and he spent time working on hydrodynamics for nuclear submarines.
Oh my gosh.
I don't usually use words that are that long, but that's Joe's background. And the reason I say that is because Joe's understanding of physics and his ability to communicate that through the simulator on the tuning side of things is unbelievable. And the biggest problem in the industry right now is poorly tuned simulators. You can buy the best hardware, or you can buy low-end hardware, plug it all together, because the manufacturers love to say that it's plug and play on all the different components, and still have a fairly useless simulator that I refer to them as track familiarity tools. They're good for learning a track layout before you ever get to the track. You know where the straightaways are, where the left turns are, where the right turns are. We do everything we can to take it multiple steps further in customizing either the motion profile or the force feedback or the pedal calibration, so that top drivers, like on the grid in that Spec Miata race that they just ran, which was an unbelievable race.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We've had multiple drivers from their top 10 come over and hop in the simulator, and our bread and butter is a Spec Miata that we've been tuning in the simulator for 5 months with feedback from some unbelievable drivers. And they sit down and they say, this thing is dialed in, this feels just like my car. And that's when a simulator moves from a toy
to a tool,
a training tool to make yourself a faster driver. And we love helping people get faster, whether they're track day drivers or they're race car drivers like outside. That's what we do.
So I did the whole video with you. I remoted in. I watched the whole thing happen. I edited the video that you watched, and I really found it to be really interesting, because when I see it in person, it's even more impressive. When you see the guys, the drivers, moving around up and back and left and right, and it's hard to get a real grasp. As good of a filmmaker as I am, and as good as I am at editing, it's hard to get a firm grasp of what you're really seeing until you see it in person.
It can be, yes. And we've filmed some great videos, and I can't wait till the full-length video from what we filmed the other day comes out. But it can be challenging to capture it on video, and when you do see it in person, it really does show people what we do at a high level. Not only how clean the whole setup is and the fact that you have a incredibly complex simulator that goes to one outlet on the wall, but it could also be useless if the tuning's bad. Like, imagine if you turned left and the simulator went right. That just doesn't quite work. And that's how far Joe takes it, so that top drivers can be thinking that, or actually improving their skills as they go.
Right. So, that the system that we showed on the video, and you have it here, it's an $80,000 system. You have a little more affordable system. Tell us about that one.
We do. We have a very wide price range, all completely turnkey. And so our simulators start at just above $13,000. For that, you're not getting a 6 degree of freedom motion simulator. You're not getting the top world-class hardware. But we don't like to do anything on the low end that somebody might find to be cheap or useless. It has to have a good feel, and it has to be a training tool. So even at $13,000, we're building something that you can become a faster driver with. And there's upgrades available. So you can get the upgraded wheel or the upgraded pedals. And what we've been upgrading lately is what we call our haptic feedback system.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe has designed a vibration system, and you can throw vibration systems all over a simulator and have them communicate nothing. But what Joe has been able to do is isolate vibration in both the pedals and in the seat to communicate curbing, road noise, ABS, understeer, oversteer on a static simulator. And that's new for us, and we actually have people sit down in that simulator, which is on the more affordable side, and they'll get out and say, that was a motion simulator, right? And we say, no, but the communication happening through the haptic feedback system and the vibration packs convinces you that it actually is that good, and it's a much more visceral experience than what can be kind of numb on static simulators.
And the Twig drove both.
He did.
And he obviously knew there was a difference between the two. But he was still impressed with the lower level experience.
He was. We were happily surprised by that. We try to avoid the flagship being the only thing that's cool, because we understand that that's not affordable for everyone. And for the Twig to sit down and validate what we're doing at a lower price point is fantastic, because he's, arguably one of the best drivers in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so how do people go and get in touch with you and put one of these things in their living room? Before you actually do that, one of the things we talked about off camera during our video shoot was this is a great opportunity for like a team to buy this. Because, $80,000, not a cheap amount of money.
Certainly.
Or a group of a club to buy it, or a group of people to buy it, to sit down so multiple people can work on the same sim rig, right?
They can, yes. And we do get groups that reach out to us. It might be a group of friends. It might be a team. And for those that already have a simulator, I'll mention this real quick. A growing arm of our business that we're very excited about, we refer to it as tuning and consulting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's people that reach out to us and say, hey, I bought all this hardware and I put it together and I feel like my simulator is useless. And the little known fact, as I mentioned earlier, is that you need to tune a simulator.
Yeah.
It's the biggest problem in the industry. And if you'd like to sink the thousands of hours that my business partner has sunk into the research, feel free. But most of the people that are racing, they don't have the time to spend doing that.
Right.
And so we offer services where our expertise can be installed on your simulator, and you can shortcut all of the problems that you'd run into on the tuning side and improve the training level of your simulator right from there.
And I have his number, and I'll be getting a hold of him down the road, probably. So, all right, now we want to buy it. How do we do it?
You can reach out directly to me. My email address is matt@drivesvr.com.
Right.
Or our website is drivesvr.com. Not sure it's the best idea to throw my phone number out.
No, don't do that.
So I won't. But that's the best way to get in touch with us. We just became a benefits partner of the SCCA. We're working on some other very exciting partnerships. This year has been fantastic for us, and to get to meet you guys. And I just want to thank you for having me on the show. This is so cool.
I'm so excited, and we've had a ton of fun doing this, and I just can't thank you enough for being on the show with us and helping us out to get here, and we're going to have a lot more fun doing this.
We will. A lot more to come, and it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's going to do it for this segment. We've got one more to come back after this. We're going back to racing at 1:10 this afternoon, and we're going to do that here in just a few minutes. Before that, we got to tell you about all of the qualifiers for the afternoon races and the schedule. So we'll do that when we come back. This is Inside the SCCA, presented by Goodyear Racing Tires and Vintage Racers for Rescues. Stay with us. Decades of sports car racing success comes from Goodyear Racing Tires' dedication to grassroots motorsports. Too many trophies and championships to count, and a commitment to continuing that tradition fuels continued tire development. From the professional levels of motorsports to the pinnacle of amateur racing in the SCCA, Goodyear Racing Tires are made for winning trophies. Follow @RaceGoodyear on Facebook or scan the QR code. Goodyear Racing is more driven. The Roadkeeper HD video and data logger was developed using our experience in motorsports, driving experiences, and beyond. It brings dual stream HD video combined with high-quality GPS data within reach of everyone at the track or on the road. Travinci Systems is an official Runoffs contingency sponsor, and it's not too late to sign up. On-site registration is available at the contingency desk in Tech. The Roadkeeper HD meets SCCA's requirements for forward-facing cameras. Take advantage of 2022 Runoffs pricing for the Roadkeeper HD, $324 plus shipping. That's $75 off. Offer is good through Christmas. And we are back inside the SCCA. Man, this noon show runs fast.
It does.
We got a lot of stuff to throw.
A lot of info and a lot of great guests.
Absolutely. Well, let's not waste any time.
Nope.
Let's get to our qualifying for
our races this afternoon.
Our races, the whole reason we're here.
That's right.
B-Spec. Here we go.
Oh, wow. Here we go. Let's start off with B-Spec. And there's already drama in B-Spec. So as we can see here, Steve Intro and Rich Roman, they have been working together, both driving Mini Coopers, or probably Minis, not Mini Coopers. They have been working as a team as far back as the Summit Point Majors back early in the spring, but they've been here all week. Every single day of testing, every single day of qualifying, working together. They are going to be your two drivers on the front row. Our reigning national champion, David Daugherty, in a Chevy Sonic this year. David Daugherty, known for usually building multiple cars and bringing the fastest one. He is going to start on the inside of row number 2. And Matt Wolf, driving a Mazda 2, had a very, very good qualifying on day number 2. And he's going to start on the outside of row number 2. As I said, there's already some drama. One of the teams has already filed mechanical protests against multiple drivers, our pole sitter, our third place driver, and I believe one other as well. And it's primarily because there was some drama that came out of the Indianapolis race about some equipment that may not have been legal, but the mechanical protest was filed too late to be heard by the stewards, and so trying to cover their bases this year.
Right. And we're going to have to zip through these pretty fast because
yeah.
we're getting up on the time where they're going to start their broadcast again, and we want to be clear before that. So
Yeah.
Formula Atlantic next top qualifiers, Chip Romer, Alex Mayer, Anthony Sieber, Austin
Hill, who we saw in FX a little bit earlier today.
J.R. Smart. And Rod Rice.
Your top 6. And Alex Mayer in the lowest horsepower car, Formula 1000 car. I think he was waiting for rain. Obviously didn't get or isn't going to get what he wanted. Chip Romer, we know on the last day of qualifying, they were swapping out the wing element on his car when they were under black flag conditions. But he has been the class of the field. He's got about a 9/10 of a second advantage in qualifying this week.
All right, let's move on. H Production,
a very large field, 23-car field in H Production. Steve Sturgis, many-time national champion in his 1975 Triumph Spitfire. In 2019, he was your pole sitter. He broke very early on in the race, and Vesa Silgren and his Honda CRX took the win. We'll see if that's the case here, as we've got Chris Schaafsma, who has been the bridesmaid for a number of times over the last 5 years in his Hoosier Tire Midwest Volkswagen Golf. He's going to start on the outside of the front row. The two red CRXs of Will Perry and Vesa Silgren. Vesa, who unfortunately got into a bit of an incident on the first lap back at Indianapolis in 2020. Last year in 2021. He's looking for a little bit of a redemption here. They're going to make up row 2, but also don't count out Rick Benazik or Chris Albin. Benazik in a Honda Civic hatchback. Chris Albin in a Volkswagen Golf. They're going to be making up row number 3.
All right, Prototype 1, Todd Slusher, Jim Davenport. That's a pretty stout front row there.
Yeah, it certainly is. Now, this is a class. The majority of drivers in this class are driving Mazda-powered Elan DPO2 chassis, and the majority of these drivers set their fastest qualifying times on the very first day of qualifying back on Tuesday, and about a half a second separating Todd Slusher from Jim Davenport, another 0.03 of a second separating Davenport and Chip Romer, who's going to be starting on the inside of row number 2. And you never want to count out Todd Vanacore. I think maybe the dark horse, though, in a Kawasaki-powered store, is going to be Lee Alexander starting 5th.
All right. Touring 1, one of my favorite groups. This is the expensive car class.
Yeah, this is actually it's Touring 2, not Touring 1. Well, we'll get the graphic fixed up, but it is Touring 2. Kurt Rezzitano is going to be starting on the front row in his Phoenix Performance Ford Mustang. We've got Charlie Peter, who had some issues earlier in the week in qualifying, went off over at South Bend, and had I think the oil pan pretty much ripped off his BMW M2 Club Sport machine. A new chassis for him this year, but he is qualified on the outside of row number 2. That happened on Wednesday. He did make pole day, however, and ran his fastest qualifying time on the final day of qualifying. We've got the two Fall Line Motorsports Porsche drivers of Kesman and Bowden on the second row, and of course, Mark Bowden, many-time national champion. The one driver who had been dancing around since pretty much Monday, hoping for rain, Marty Grand, who was, I believe, your 2010 or 2011 national champion in a Touring 2 Super, probably not Super. He'll shoot me for this. A Mitsubishi Evo. He's driving for the third year in a row a Honda Civic Type R. It is our sole front-wheel drive car in the field. And if it was still raining, would be the perfect weapon here. Instead, he's going to have a real tough battle starting at 8th.
All right, we're getting ready to go back to race action here real quick before we go. If you're here at the Runoffs and you want to get some Runoff swag, head down to the merchandise tent here at right outside the Pagoda Grill And there's a bunch of great stuff from the good folks at Shirts 101. They're the ones who got us our shirts for this week. You can get your Runoff stuff here at the tent. If you're not here and would like some Runoff stuff, go to SCCAgear.com. If you want them to make you some great shirts or whatever you need for your team or whatever, get a hold of Rick at Shirts101.com. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the SCCA. We are live from the Runoffs thanks to Goodyear Racing Tires and Vintage Racers for Rescues. Let's get back to the race action.